Greetings, beautiful friends. Happy Monday to you. Here we are getting started with this brand new week. I trust you had a lovely weekend and are all ready to just step into this really beautiful energy. Before we start pulling some cards for our inner compass forecast for the week ahead, as you know, if you've been watching these with me before, I like to just sort of riff and feel into the phase of the moon that we are being affected by as we start to ramp up the attunement or the flow with this week ahead. And flow is a very, very potent piece here. So the phase of the moon that kind of affects us for this whole week, in fact, it arrives today and it's the last quarter phase of the moon in the sign of Pisces. So Pisces, water sign, very much about flowing, but also very much about, with it being the last quarter phase of the moon, this is the last sort of phase of reflection, letting go, calibrating to the truth of you. That's what the inner compass is all about. So as we come into this idea of letting go before the whole cycle starts all over again with the new moon coming in. But this is a time of really deeply surrendering and letting go. So you know how sometimes, well, often, usually, we all go through phases in our life where there's struggle or trauma or discombobulation. And in order to navigate or to flow through those types of events or experiences, without even really fully being aware of it, we can sometimes tell ourselves a story or create a narrative around, this is how I have to deal with this. This is the mold that I need to fit into in order to navigate this phase. I hope that makes sense. So I'm thinking about times of upheaval or times of chaos or struggle or anything like that. And of course, as I'm saying this, if anything that I'm saying here triggers you, confuses you, discombobulates you, and you need a wee bit more guidance or support, put it in the comments below or message me directly. When I talk about these ideas of what's the narrative, what's the story that you've been telling to yourself about yourself, or how is it affecting how you make decisions and choices? This is a really powerful time to get really clear on, gosh, that is the wound that I created a story or a narrative around. Now, this is not to pretend that it didn't happen or to stuff it down. The wound, we all carry wounds. However, the narrative doesn't always need to be carried forward. So feel into that for a moment. Because as we put down the narrative or the conditioning or the belief or the mindset, we actually allow this beautiful sacred sense of, gosh, this is where I'm going. This is who I'm becoming. And as we go through this, I always do this, this upward cycle, as we come through the energetics that's being presented to us, we can sometimes really feel like, gosh, that doesn't suit who I have become. And so we get to move forward feeling lighter, feeling more energized, feeling more on track. And that can mean, stepping away from a group thinking that you've been part of, or stepping away from an identity that doesn't serve you anymore. So take a really deep breath here and find your rhythm, your pace. If you've watched these before, you know one of my favorite questions, and I really encourage you to come into this. How do I feel about myself here? How do I feel about myself here in this environment, doing these things, saying yes and going that way, or saying no and going this way? How do I feel about myself? This is such a sacred way of coming back into connection with your own inner guidance. It's always there. We are all intuitive by nature. However, we've not been conditioned to just kind of say, oh wait, how do I feel about myself? And sometimes, how do I feel about myself? I might feel discombobulated. I might feel a little bit wonky or wobbly. Well, maybe then that's time to just allow my nervous system to calm down, to soothe, to recognize whenever I need to make a choice or a decision or make some kind of navigational shift. The truth of it is it's there. The clarity, the guidance is there. But if we get too caught up in our head, in our, oh my gosh, I have to be logical and rational and think this through. No, the rhythm, the direction is here at your heart space, deep within you. Are you calibrating to your best rhythm? We all have a rhythm. We all have unique talents and unique ways of getting that guidance. Are you getting in touch and in flow? With this Pisces energy, with this last quarter phase of the moon, very much about flow. And so flow can come from our emotions, right? Feel your emotions and allow them to help you navigate and choose and flow. I trust that makes sense. Like I said, if this is triggering or bringing up some kind of confusion or discombobulation, just reach out for help. It's always there. And it doesn't mean that you are not powerful enough to shift through it. It just means sometimes we need somebody to hold our hand or somebody to reflect to us. What is the next step or best choice? So now let's get into pulling some cards. Take a nice deep breath. Such an important piece to remember. Come back to the breath. And so as we're doing that, the first deck of cards I use for these sessions are my letting go guidance system. Letting go, huge ingredient, component for this energy for this week. So let's see, where are we going to be guided or inspired to pay attention to? Oh, this is a good one. It's obsessing how you look. You know how sometimes we can get too caught up, maybe that's part of the story. Maybe that's the part of the story that a part of you put in place in order to navigate or get through a certain phase or theme or experience, is that you had to look a certain way in order to feel safe, feel okay. So maybe that's part of the narrative that says, I'm okay, you're okay. So just pause and feel into that. Are you willing to just show up and be who you truly are? Be authentically you. And really, you know, the other part around this that I'm feeling into as I say these words to you is that it's so important to always remember it's essential for you to be your own best friend. To meet yourself and lovingly guide yourself. You know, when I say that, lovingly guide yourself, because, you know, we can all get into limitation or addiction or making choices and then thinking, gosh, I screwed it up again. Just allow yourself to say, hey, I'm always doing the best I can. And sometimes we will make choices and say, oh, you know, I prefer to go a different way. That's okay. You can change your mind, but not getting caught up in ruminating and beating yourself up is so important. I've talked about this before, you know. Feel into the narrative and the way you talk to yourself and about yourself, and then pause and say, would I speak like this to someone I really, truly, deeply loved? Oftentimes we find that we would never speak the way we speak to ourselves, to another person, especially one that we love. So therefore, remind yourself, you are worthy of your own loving attention, your own loving consideration. So as I was sharing that idea, I was shuffling my tarot cards, and what's come up is the Six of Wands. I really love that one. So the Six of Wands is like the celebration, the moving forward, the celebrating, the recognition, yeah, I am on the right track. I am celebrating me, and that actually gives people around me permission to do the same. But it's also around, with it being wands, it's actually like fulfilling your purpose. And so perhaps with this last quarter phase of the moon in Pisces, saying let go of the narrative, because we're still walking this path. But if we let go of a narrative that no longer suits who we're becoming, then we can start feeling lighter and celebrate the things that you get to do rather than the things you have to do. Sometimes that's a really important piece too. Just change the verbiage about what you're doing moving forward. So take another nice deep breath. I'm going to draw 3 of the Healing with the Angels cards. Just like these cards really feel supportive when we go through these types of things. Oh gosh, these are great. So the first one is freedom. Can you give yourself permission to feel the freedom of what it feels like to be aligned with your soul's essence, and recognize that at all times we are supported. We are supported here, but we're supported in the angelic realms, or supported by the universe, or supported by the unseen elements. Can you feel into a space of harmony with that? And when we talk about harmony, that's that piece that I've talked about before too, about the head, the heart, and the higher self. It all starts, that alignment with the truth of who you are, it starts here. And using that question, how do I feel about myself? Then that can actually be your potent navigational tool also. So take another nice deep breath. I'm just about ready to send you off into this auspicious week ahead. And like I say, if you need any further guidance or clarity, I'm here for you. These sessions are intended to meet you where you are and inspire you to move forward in your best rhythm and really acknowledge all aspects of who you are and who you're becoming. And that does require us to meet ourselves with compassion and kindness and let go of all that which is no longer serving us. So take another nice deep breath as I finish us off with one of my Liberate Your Inner Truth cards. And the card that's come up for us here is I am empathetic. So let me read this out to you. To truly be supportive of another, I first strive to understand them. Empathetic people take the time to understand other people's preferences and motivations. I listen non-judgmentally and leave my assumptions at the door. This reminds me of a quote I just recently saw too, is we can love others even if they think in a different way. So being that person, that conduit of unconditional love and compassion, doesn't mean you have to think the same way or believe the same things. Come back home to your heart. That's where the compassion is. It's always there. I'll wish you a superb week ahead. I'll be back again with you for our next check-in next Monday. Much love to you, and thank you for watching.